Good afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Jack Griffin here. We've got another severe thunderstorm warning in our viewing area for today, and so we'll talk more about that. And what we're going to do here is just kind of be going back and forth here between our different radar sources. Just want to let you know that we're keeping up to date on things here because it's not exactly the best severe weather setup for today, but it is there nonetheless. And so what we're going to do here is jump on over, and you'll see that we've got currently on our map here, we've got Storm Tracker Doppler with our warning. This warning is the northern portions of Ford and Iroquois County, and this one goes until 3 o'clock in the afternoon for radar indicated 60-mile-per-hour winds. Now the thing is, though, you'll notice is that we've got that as a kind of orange color there because this, even though this is a severe thunderstorm warning, there is actually what we call a tornado possible tag with this. And if you've been paying attention to us on social media over the past couple hours, you've probably been seeing how we've had so many storms and pictures that have some rotation with them. In fact, here's a picture from earlier on of a funnel cloud that was west of Ludlow that Holly sent this picture in of. Another picture from the Rantoul area of a funnel cloud. So there's a lot of rotation in the atmosphere. In fact, the National Weather Service office in Lincoln has kind of put a little advisory out for a lot of the viewing area for today about how there is a chance for funnel clouds that are possible. And the reason why that's the case is that when we look at our Storm Tracker Doppler full screen here and we have the animation turned on, you can see how they're kind of all arcing from kind of the south to the north and eventually the northwest. They're kind of making a kind of a curvature, and they're all rotating around the low. They're all kind of moving in that sort of direction here and there. So there's an arc to the overall trend here with our storms, and as a result of that, they are able to pick up a little bit more in the way of some spin with the atmosphere. There's also a lot of leftover boundaries too from days of storms that we've seen. So because of that, there is the possibility that some of these storms could in fact produce a funnel cloud, and in this instance that's why there also is that chance that a storm could have a even brief little tornado with these. Now the overall environment for tornadoes is not all that necessarily good. We do have the conditions, like I said, that are favorable. All right, and there we go. So now we're noticing that they may have actually changed this one. Let me check here really fast, because I've now got that one as red, which is your tornado warning. I've not received anything just yet in terms of anything from the National Weather Service spotters here, but this might actually be a warning that we actually have to go on TV for a little bit. So let me just check back here. There has been, like I said, rotation that's possible with it, and so some of that rotation is in fact showing up there, but let me get the right, okay, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm looking at things right now. So that's currently orange right there. So we'll see what they end up doing with this warning here. But it goes until 3 o'clock. We have to look out for, you've got the greens and the reds. That's your inbound and your outbound winds from the radar. And I had to switch our radar because with it being in Ford and Iroquois County, they're under the National Weather Service office in Chicago. And so I had to switch theirs. So you've got that in place there. And so what to look out for is for that storm to potentially show a better sign of rotation with it. But I just want to check out, maybe this my eyes is going all weird. It looked to me pretty red there for a moment with that warning. But okay, so we're at a severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible tag. That's how everything looks currently. And this goes until 3 o'clock. Now we have more storms that are back off in the distance here. And again, they've also been exhibiting signs of some rotation as well. Even kind of going back down here to these little cells in northern Christian County. So by Cascade right there. So if you see that, how it's now starting to turn a little bit more to its right, and I'll highlight that here. I'll circle that. So see how it was going off to the northeast, and now it's kind of going more to the straight east and west. That's a little bit of some rotation that's picking up on it as it hits a boundary. That little stele there by Stonington also kind of doing the same thing, and the same thing also by Assumption too. These storms are all kind of moving a bit more to the east direction rather than to the northeast like everything else is. And so that's an indication of it running into a boundary and potentially causing a brief spin up there. Also with these storms, can't diminish the fact that there's a lot of heavy rain with them too. We have seen with these storms some more upwards of, at times, potentially 1 to maybe even 2 inch per hour rainfall rates. So these storms also have quite a bit of rain with them as well. And so in addition to potentially rotating with the storms and maybe even a little bit of some of those brief funnel clouds with them that usually stay in the sky, usually don't come down to the ground, we're definitely going to be noticing with these storms today a lot in the way of heavy rain. Pretty spotty though, as you'll notice. We're not seeing the total coverage area of these showers and storms, but for example, Champaign, right now in Champaign County, we're going to be seeing here some heavy rain across a lot of the town as well. And that's all going to be just kind of rotating off to our north and off to our northeast. We'll go back down to our other counties down to the south. And again, kind of more of the same as expected. You've got a lot more in the way of heavy rain with these storms, especially nearby the Casey area. That's going to be a lot of heavy rain as those come on through. And so over the past few hours, we've noticed more and more in the way of coverage area of these storms as we've gotten into the afternoon hours. But the low is actually centered kind of right by the St. Louis area, and because of that, we are dealing with this extra rotation that we have in the atmosphere. Our severe threat for today, an overall low risk, it's a marginal risk for today, and actually the main threat from the Storm Prediction Center was more of a isolated gusty wind event, but with the low as in the position that it's in and where these storms are firing, that's why we also have the rotation to worry about as well with this all these funnel clouds that we've seen so far today. Again, kind of going back in what we've seen so far, Holly sent this one. We've also been posting a whole bunch of them on our social media channels, and we've received a lot of them through email and also through the WCIA3 News app, which you can download as well, and you can give us information there too. This one was seen by Rantoul, and we have a whole bunch of other ones that are out there too. The reason being, we're going to be seeing this chance for showers and storms for a number of days this week, is that the low, which is creating our rotation today, really doesn't move very much for the next few days. We have the chance for some storms tomorrow too. A little bit of an isolated chance on Wednesday, and then a better chance on Thursday going into the weekend as a new system comes through with its own cold front. So it's going to be an active forecast for today and this week, but really we're mainly focusing on right now our threat for severe weather. Up in the northern portions of Ford and Iroquois County, we have this severe thunderstorm warning that has a tornado possible tag with it, and that goes until 3 o'clock. The winds with this one are really what caused the warning to go in place. It's for radar indicated 60 mile per hour winds, but the tornado possible tag is there due to the fact that we have that rotation in place. Let me just quickly turn that back on here for us, and you'll see that that this rotation is being picked up fairly nicely here from the Chicago radar. And so right there, kind of right by just to the west of Danforth is where we have that that rotation looks to be in place there. You've got the inbound and the outbound winds, your red and your greens, and what that's showing is that the storm is turning as it goes with height. And so we've got the rotation being picked up by the radar, and it's a pretty good area of rotation that we're seeing there, so that's why they've thrown in that tornado possible tag with this warning. It's not as tight as we would see during a tornado warning, for example, but it is still there nonetheless. And so just kind of right now to the west of Danforth is where that rotation looks to be best in place. That would also for sure be where some of your brighter colors are going to be. Also, where more in the way of your just regular straight line winds, your strong winds are going to be in place too from that kind of in that location as well. So we're looking at kind of two things here with this storm. The strong winds, which is the main reason why it's warned, but in the overall story of the day today with that rotation, you do have a little bit of that showing up with this storm as well, and as a result, they have put that tornado possible tag with it. We've got meteorologist Jacob Dickey. He's been out and about kind of in our storm tracker. He does not have live capabilities, but he's going to be sending us some pictures in at times. There was actually a shed or some sort of grain bin that he was able to get pictures of that had damage of kind of by the Foosland area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on that and take you there. It was pretty much between Fisher and Foosland, kind of in this area right here near Highway 47, kind of in this location where potentially a funnel cloud actually may have touched down. This would have been before, right about in here, right about 12:40 or so, 12:30. Kind of right in there is where he was, the timeline. It kind of makes sense the best with the radar picture. But there actually could have been a funnel cloud that actually did touch down as a tornado, a very weak one. It may have actually caused some small damage to a barn. And so that's what he's looking at. But there was no warning with that one. We just have the one warning for northern Ford and Iroquois counties until 3 o'clock today. And so that's our first warning of the day. It quite possibly could be our first of a few of them today. The storms are there and the rotation is there for there to be supporting some stronger storms, but we really shouldn't have a ton of warnings with these. The atmosphere, while good to go in many aspects with this rotation, like you can see with the loop, the main issue is that it's pretty cloudy out there, and because of that, it's held our temperatures back a little bit. So we don't have all the ingredients in the right places to do that, but still, nonetheless, something to keep our eye out for. In fact, the biggest cluster of cells now is the one that is kind of right by Casey as you go from the southeast of Charleston to the west of Marshall, kind of right in that area there, and the Kansas area. That's kind of where most of the heavy rain is going to be seen. But the storm itself that's got the warning on it is now moving into more of Iroquois County at this point. So nearby the Clifton area, that cell there. And again, kind of noticing within the past few little scans, the past few minutes there, you've got more of it just turning straight to the right, which means that it might be following one of those boundaries that are out there in the atmosphere. And sometimes what those can do is spin up a brief little tornado. So that's why that tornado possible tag is with that storm. All of these little cells, though, have very heavy rain with them. So it doesn't need to be a severe warned storm to have a lot of heavy rain with them. Here's our picture now of where everything is. And so you've got the heavy rain just off to the east of I-57 across northeastern Champaign County, kind of right there in the central part of the county as well. And then going down, you've got Oakland area, just off to the east of Ashmore, by, like I said, the Casey area, north of Casey. Parker, Kansas, that's all areas that have some very heavy rain now. But even back off to our west, where there are more in the way of the little cells out there, these are still going to be prolific rainmakers. And the nice thing is that they're small and that they're quick lasting, because if they lasted a long time, these would put down some big-time numbers. The one thing to look out for, though, these storms don't move very fast. In fact, the warning that we have up in Ford and Iroquois County, for example, it's only going about 15 miles an hour. So because of that, you're going to get some of your heavy downpours with them that could last a solid half hour or so with some of these storms, even if they are kind of small, just because they don't last very long. I hear some rain hitting our roof here at the station at WCIA, but I haven't heard much in the way of heavy rain at the station. Did hear some rumbles of thunder, and I'll turn those back on. You'll see that there's not a whole lot of lightning with the storms that are in Champaign County, but we've got the warning up in Iroquois County and Ford County. It's showing up there, but a big cluster of lightning strikes is in portions of nearby I-70, like you can see there, south of Hume. All those spots are kind of going over and over, have the heavy rain there too. So currently 2:37. This warning that we have in northern Ford and Iroquois counties, that one is going to be going here until 3 o'clock, like we've been saying. And along with these storms, you're going to have the potential here for some gusty winds, but also heavy rain as well. And these storms are going to continue here throughout a lot of the afternoon and evening hours. We're expecting a lot of these storms to begin to kind of fizzle out by the time we go into the evening hours. And once we go into the nighttime hours, pretty much everything should be done. These things do need the sun to keep on going, but the atmosphere is still ready to go for tomorrow for additional showers and storms. So we're going to have our chance for rain here in our forecast for many days this week, and this is not going to be the first of, or this will be just the first of many days during this work week for there to be the chance for some of these showers and storms. Go back over to our computer over here. I want to show something else. I'm sorry I didn't switch over that our studio camera from Champaign, and I'm going to move it around. Although this is our stadium camera right now. Stadium one's got a little bit more in the way of some droplets on the lens, so let's use that one here for a moment. And so we've got these storms that are, I'm going to go all the way around. We got these storms that are just kind of dotting the radar everywhere, and so I'm going to have to keep on readjusting our cameras as we go throughout the day today if we want to catch anything on them. Everything looks very green. That's good. All right, so this is looking now to our south. So just looking off to our south from Champaign. Got just a little bit more of a darker sky this direction because of more storms coming in from that location. I'm going to try the Springfield camera. Let's see what that one looks like. That one's got some higher vantage point. I could probably get some of those storms that are off to the west. Now, ironically, though, here we go with, I'm going to change it actually back to our radar because we actually do have a small tornado warning in Iroquois County right now. So that warning is now in place. Let me stop the loop here. So radar indicated tornado warning for Iroquois County until 3:15. So what we're going to need to do here is I'm going to have to go and talk to my people behind the set here because we're actually going to go on to TV for this one. This one goes until 3:15, radar indicated tornado warning. Before I get going on that, I want to put a track on things. We got a tornado warning here, gents. So it's up in Iroquois County. So we'll do kind of a quick one for a few minutes here. It's radar indicated. I would like to go first off here just to go in, just to go through, and I will. It should be framed up as much as it is. Yep. And if I can go into start when I need to, and then go into a commercial break, and then you guys can talk to me when we're going to come back to programming, then I can then stop it at that point on TV.
Gotcha. All right, I'll tell who's directed this, you or Sylvia?
So that's just me talking in the background with our crew here because we got that tornado warning. It's radar indicated, which is just good to know, but you can still get some touchdowns with a radar indicated tornado, and so with the funnel clouds being in place here like they have been today, that has been an issue for us. So let me just change over Weather desk, weather mods. Okay, let me just gain control over here. Okay, and I just want to make sure that I'm going to switch over my stream here to production. So 1 second. All right, I should be good to go, guys. Yep, stand by. Good afternoon, Central Illinois. Meteorologist Jack Griffin here. Currently 2:43 in the afternoon, and we have a tornado warning that has been issued for portions of Iroquois County. As we take a look at our velocity right now, you've got the velocity showing up that we have some of the inbound and the outbound winds. And if actually we could take max 2, guys, max 2 in the back. There we go. Thank you very much. We've got our rotation that has been indicated and being picked up by our velocity there. I'm going to switch our radar because this is actually coming from Lincoln, and I need to go to our one from Chicago because that's where that one is going to be picked up easier at. And you've got that tight little rotation couplet right there. So there is our rotation right there. These storms that we've had for today, they have been producing funnel clouds throughout the day, and because of that, it makes sense that we have a tornado warning here. So we have the first severe thunderstorm warning that came for Ford and Iroquois County. Then that one had the warning for your wind speed there, but it had the threat of a tornado possible tag. And then just a few minutes ago, or really just about a minute ago, we had the tornado warning that popped for Iroquois County. We've got it as radar indicated at this time, so that's good news there. Nothing on the ground just as of yet, but that can still be the case where you have a radar indicated tornado warning and we then have it touch down and potentially could create some damage here. I'm just checking some information right now. The thing with these storms, and that really one thing we've noticed all day with these storms, is that they're very, very slow movers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a track on this storm, because as of right now, I have it as moving to the east at about 10 miles an hour. So just between Danforth and Ashcombe, that is where this rotation is being picked up at. And so it's a slow mover. As you see, you've got it coming in only at the Ellerable, being picked up there as the only spot. And I apologize if I said that one wrong, but that one goes until, that would be a 3:30 arrival time should it make that way into Indiana right there. So we're going to keep watching these storms. And what I'm going to do here is also back out and go to our full view here. You've got Storm Tracker Doppler up full screen, and you can see that we've got the rotation there. The low of the center of circulation, the low, is actually back off to our southwest. And so when you have the position of the low that it's in, we're able to, when we're in the position that it's in, we're able to see that some of those storms have some rotation with them, and they pick up on that, and that is currently what we have out there. Other storms that we kind of are watching too, because they're moving in the way of kind of more east-west, are the storms that you've got kind of just by the Edinburgh area right there, just south of Mechanicsburg. That one also probably could potentially produce a little funnel cloud based on how they are moving. We got other ones too just off to the southeast of Iroquois. We've seen a number of storms and cells this morning and afternoon that have produced funnel clouds, but we have had no warnings until today, and until right now, I should say. So that is what we are watching. The chief is in. Meteorologist Kevin Leidy is in here, and so he's going to jump in here when need be. But for the most part right now, everything looks to be just the way it is right now, in the way of not seeing anything that would lead us to have a tornado touching down just yet, but it's still a tornado warning for radar indicated rotation because it is definitely there on our velocity. You can clearly tell where that velocity couplet is just to the south of the Ashcombe area. There's not much hail with these storms. The gusty winds are actually kind of the main threat from the Storm Prediction Center earlier on this afternoon. But this is what we have right now. We got a tornado warning in the northern part of our viewing area. Kevin, you got anything else to add? How you doing?
Well, hey, good afternoon to you. And yeah, here we are again, dealing with more severe weather across central Illinois. And we are tracking this storm here. Now, we had several reports of funnels earlier with other storms that we had. Matter of fact, near Fisher, north of Fisher, we got a pretty good picture of a funnel, and then confirmation of some damage up there from the earlier storm. So this kind of tells you kind of the atmosphere that we're in with this low that's kind of coming through. These are some of the pictures that we've had of these funnels that have been out there today. And you can see that funnel cloud. That was actually west of Ludlow a little bit earlier today. And then more of these here near Rantoul. So the atmosphere is conducive for these. We've got the potential for some of these to occur anywhere, essentially. Funnel clouds possible here today. Through this evening because of this system that's kind of moving through. There's a little bit of that rotation in there. But that cell that was over near Ashcombe, I mean, that does have a decent little couplet associated with it. So what we will continue to look for will be the potential for maybe some debris that could get lofted, and we can use the debris tracker to be able to kind of see some of that there. And again, there is that definite rotation on that. If you're near Ashcombe right now, you definitely want to be taking shelter here. There's the storm, as you can see. And what we would look for would be basically a lowering in the colors there. We would look for kind of a bluish color just to start to show up, and that would indicate, hey, maybe there was a touchdown. We are pretty far away from the radar site there, but that is something. The velocity on that, I think, is what has my interest peaked the most, is those reds and those greens that are kind of right with one another. And you can see that here, that is showing up there just kind of south and east of the Ashcombe area. You're looking at the greens and those reds there. If we could throw that max 2 here in the monitor behind me, and I can kind of pick out some of that and kind of show you here what we're looking at. So again, right there it is. It's going to be crossing over 45 now, but this red and green, these little pixels that come together, that's where you would have that potential for a tornado to occur. And there it is kind of moving there off to the east. So already crossed 57. It is right there on 45, just kind of south of Ashcombe. This is a radar indicated tornado, but it is in effect until 3:15 p.m. But that's kind of the area of highest concern now. There is a severe thunderstorm warning, a larger severe thunderstorm warning, but within that you've got the tornado warning that is in effect, and there is still a fairly decent little couplet that is showing up there with that storm southeast of Ashcombe now. This is a really slow-moving storm. If anybody is in the Ashcombe area right now, I guarantee you have extremely heavy rainfall, a ton of lightning, and maybe even a little bit of hail, but those reds and green pixels that are right next to one another, that's where that is. You can see all of the lightning that is showing up on this between Danforth, Ashcombe, all the way up to the Clifton area there. A very, very strong storm with that rotation on it. So if you are in that area of Iroquois County, you definitely want to be taking shelter right over Ashcombe right now. That's where that rotation is currently located. It's moving off to the east at a very, very slow pace. I mean, you got the Ashcombe Elementary School there as well, the Bonnie's Prairie Nature Preserve. So that is the kind of the direction that this could be going. That's kind of way down the line there, but you can kind of see the storm that we've got here has got that rotation on it. Jack, I'd be curious if the Weather Service or any spotters have been out there and have confirmed anything from this, or anybody out there, because I know we've got some viewers that are up there in the Ashcombe area. Is there anything coming from the Weather Service that they're talking about?
I have not seen anything from them yet. I was on more Max 1, so let me pull some of that stuff up on here onto Max 2, and you can go ahead and use on that one. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to find our go with our National Weather Service chat, because we had it on Max 1 going here. So we've got I'm just saying the rotation is really tightened up here. That was just a few minutes ago, which makes sense. That's what we saw on our velocity scope there. Nothing from the chat. And I've not seen any pictures just yet from that. I know that our own meteorologist, Jacob Dickey, he was actually out and about on his day off. He wanted to go look at some storms, and so he potentially is on his way up there. I'm not sure if he's up there or not, but he was in the Foosland area and the Fisher area for a potential brief little touchdown that occurred and earlier on this afternoon. So he's kind of checking in on that. But yeah, this is one of those ones where we just got the atmosphere is just right for these storms to occur, and we have this warning to contend with here. I'm not really seeing much from my stuff.
So yeah, so our storm here. So I've got it pulled up here. We can kind of take a look at that storm again, where there is some of that rotation that is showing up. We'll click back over to Max 1 on this here, and you can see that the storm, the reds and the greens that are really close to one another, that's the thing that that we're looking at here. If we can switch over to our Max 1 there you go, there it is. And you can see that right there along Highway 45 is where that little couplet is showing up there. So right there, and this is moving off here to the east at a very, very slow pace. And here's the thing, if anybody's out there, this would be extremely difficult to see from the standpoint of it's rain wrapped.
Yeah.
Okay, it's right, I mean, there were extremely heavy rain. So while there were some funnels that people were seeing earlier with those earlier storms, this one, you won't be able to see it. It will be embedded in extremely heavy rainfall, and so you won't actually see it. It literally, all of a sudden, the wind will pick up, and that storm will be on top of you there, and you'll have that potential for a tornado. So there's definitely a strong indication on radar of some of that rotation, and that's why we continue to monitor this tornado warned cell, embedded in extremely heavy rainfall, probably some hail. I'd be curious to see if anybody that's on our social media feeds in the chat there, if there have been any reports, if you are seeing anything up in the Ashcombe area, make sure you type that in there. We're monitoring those feeds on Facebook, and you can let us know what you're seeing up in that area, because that is the area where definitely we had some rotation. Again, the storms earlier today already producing several of those funnels out there. So you know, this area right through here, and this is going to kind of hug right there along 45, it looks like. So kind of down the line, you got Highway 49, but we are in portions of Iroquois County here, and Highway 116. And we've been talking about Ashcombe a lot because this storm is moving so slow. It's just taking its time, kind of moving there to the east. So again, there's Highway 5 there, and I'll zoom in even more and kind of show you exactly where that is.
I would say that the past radar scan definitely has the rotation kind of falling apart a little bit more.
Yeah, it definitely looks a little weaker.
Yeah, it's a little bit weaker on this latest scan, which, I mean, it makes sense because the atmosphere today is really not going to be ready or supportive of anything too long-lived. So this would just definitely be one of your quick little ones, and then it goes away.
I mean, this right here, that was the rotation right there. That was a few scans earlier.
Yep, that was a few scans earlier.
Those brighter pinks and those greens. So what I'll do is I move this on to the next few scans. You're going to see, okay, it's pretty good there, pretty good there.
Good there.
And then now it's starting to lose that same characteristic. We'll just take it back just a little bit. Look how different that was, you know, a few scans ago. So that was at about 2:42 p.m. So we're 14 minutes later in that couplet. Okay, again, here's what we're looking at right here. That right there, that's what prompted that tornado warning, is that color, those colors right there, winds blowing away towards the radar, but as that moves off to the north and to the east, we lose that. We don't have the same kind of radar signature in there, so possibly some weakening, at least, of that rotation showing up with that storm.
And this is moving to the east at only about 10 miles an hour, kind of on the wide view here. If you guys wouldn't mind going to Max 2, we have another severe thunderstorm warning that we have that just popped up here, and let's go zooming in on that one. So here we go for Edgar County, 60 mile per hour wind gust with this one as well, and tornado possible also with this storm. We're going to probably see any warnings that we have out there for today are going to probably have this tornado possible tag with it, just because the rotation is there with the nearby low pressure center off to our southwest. It's in a location to where there's going to be conditions that are favorable for them to kind of tap into some of that rotation, and that's what we have happening here. So we have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Edgar County for the tornado possible tag with that one. Let me check my sources here and see what we have for any information, because this one just came out, and this one goes until 3:45, like you can see there. And this one's moving off to the northeast a little bit quicker at about 25 miles an hour. Everything is still radar indicated in terms of our wind speed. The hail is really not much of a factor today. It's just not going to be. It's not going to be there. Our wind is more of the threat for today. The hail just not going to be as much of an issue, and so that's what we have there for that warning. Again, off to the northeast at about 25 miles an hour. So what I'll do is I'll put a track on that one right at the base of the warning there. Northeast at 25 miles an hour. And so you'll be looking at Dudley here within the next few minutes. Mays at 3:08. Paris potentially in about 15 minutes or so. We've got Hunter at 3:23. Clay's Prairie at 3:24. Brulette's Creek at 3:28. And then eventually does cross over into Indiana at that point. Yeah, we got two warnings out there from these, Kevin. The Storm Prediction Center had today as a marginal risk, and a marginal risk on a scale of 1 to 5 is a 1. And we always seem to get weird weather on marginal risk days, and
we do. We on those days where like it is normally you would think, okay, it's just a 1.
Yep.
And this is the perfect atmosphere. A lot of times we get that, and we get these little weak rotations, and sometimes you can get a tornado to form. Now that warning down there for Edgar County, that has the tornado possible tag on it too, right?
Yes, it does. Yep. Yep.
So that's the storm that's going to be coming into Paris there. So we're going to be carefully monitoring that as well for some possible rotation that could occur. But so if you're in Paris right now, it's about to get rather stormy in your area there. So two different storms we're looking at. Just kind of again show you the wide view and then put a little bit of a loop on this here, and you can see that those storms are continuing to move off there closer to the Indiana-Illinois state line. That's where the strongest storms are, not so strong with anything back there from I-57 westward. So the main show right now is running along here, our kind of eastern tier of counties along the Indiana-Illinois state line, Edgar County. We'll even be watching the storms that are going to be coming into Vermilion County here before too long, but definitely our storms here. And you can almost kind of see kind of these cells merging together. You see the one we had here, and this one down here. So sometimes on some outflow boundaries and whatnot, you can get some of that rotation to kind of increase, and that possibly is what occurred in this situation here that got this storm to the level to where they had to issue that tornado warning with it. But when we come back in and we look at that velocity once again on the storm here, not looking as impressive as it once did. And so that's why, we think that the threat has gone down just a little bit, and that's these reds and these greens that are here. They're not as tightly compacted together as what we had a little bit earlier, but it's still something that we're watching here with our storm. With the severe thunderstorm warning, it's going to be in effect for another about 14 minutes or so. About another 14 minutes up there in Iroquois County. That storm, again, not looking as impressive as it once did. I'm going to switch over to the Chicago radar and just see if there's anything different in there. Not seeing a whole lot different. I still think there's a little bit of a weakening on that. I wouldn't be surprised if here before too long they go ahead and allow this warning to go.
Yeah, because the other severe thunderstorm warning that surrounded the tornado warning for Ford and Iroquois County, they have allowed that one to expire a little earlier. So we've got just the 15 minutes left of this tornado warning. As of right now, last time I'm doing it, checking around in the chat, they're going to continue it until 3:15.
Moving at 10 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So slow.
East-northeast at 10 miles an hour. And in fact, what's been kind of interesting as we've been looking at all these different loops of our radars is the difference in the direction that this storm was moving compared to everything else. Most of our storms have been kind of moving from again, I'm just kind of approximating here, more of a southwest, kind of a northeast. There is a little bit of a turn to them, but this storm that we had actually was more of a almost northeast direction, if not even east-northeast. So it was moving in a different direction, kind of colliding in with the other storms. And so when it's moving in more of a right turn compared to everything else, riding along one of those boundaries, you're able to sometimes get up the spin. And that's what probably really helped out in creating this tornado warning, was that storm riding along a boundary, and it was able to tap into that rotation. So that's what we have from that one. As I use my velocity, I'm going to change my velocity to back to Lincoln's here, and you'll see that our velocity here from Lincoln is a little bit of rotation that's being picked up on this one. It's a little tough to see, but because of the environment that we're in, that's probably more why they did that tornado possible with it. You've got some of your reds and your greens relatively close by, showing that there could be at times some rotation with these storms, but you got more of the brighter green there, just showing that the radar is picking up on some stronger gusts that are being picked up within that storm. So again, the main reason why it's got the warning on it is for the wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour potentially out of this one as it goes into the Paris area, but you've got enough rotation in the atmosphere that they just want to be just double checking and extra sure about that. Kind of as we loop the velocity from Lincoln, you can actually kind of see a little bit of some of that turning there within the storm. So something to keep an eye on here as we go through the next, well, this warning goes for another 39 minutes. We'll see what happens with that, but definitely something to watch out for as that rotation potentially is tightening up over Edgar County nearby the Paris area.
So again, our thunderstorms here, I'm resetting some stuff on my computer here, but the storms that we're watching here, again, we've had some pictures of some of the damage, and we've had several of these funnel reports that have been out there today. There's not a huge threat for tornadoes and whatnot, but there is a non-zero threat, so it's very small, but it's so quick that these things spin up. That's what makes it almost so difficult to kind of nail down ahead of time. Hey, where's a storm going to pop up and possibly bring that severe weather to? Because it's essentially there one scan and it's gone the next.
Right.
So here's our storm that we're watching near Ashcombe. As you can see, this thing is just creeping. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about this near Ashcombe for a long time now.
I know.
And so there it is, right there along Highway 52.
Also interesting to note too, look how it says hail size of 0.00 inches.
Yeah.
So it's really just picking up on the rotation on that storm, and that's it. There might not even be much in the way of gusty winds with. I mean, I'm sure there's gusty winds with it, but it's not even anything to be included on within the warning.
So the tornado warning here, Iroquois County, there it is, right there, as it rides right along Highway 52. And then the secondary storm down here into Edgar County that we're watching. I'm going to switch over to the velocity on it. And again, you're looking for some of those reds and greens, and there are some there, but very broad in scope. So that area right through there is something that we'll monitor. So that's going to be west of Paris. But I want to continue to stress that many of these storms here are going to be extremely rain-wrapped, embedded, where you won't be able to maybe pick out that funnel very well because the rain is coming down. These funnels are in the middle of these very heavy storms here. So all these storms that we're watching, so there's a storm in Edgar County. We'll watch portions of Vermilion County here. We'll watch this little guy as it kind of comes out of the Broadlands, Newman area, possibly coming down towards Seidel and Ridge Farm. And we'll see if that does anything there. Our storm of highest concern continues to be the tornado warning storm that we had up here that once had the very good indications of rotation on it. Seeing a little bit less of it there, but more than anything, these things have an incredibly high amount of lightning on them, so a big lightning storm there for sure. But there are your warnings that are in effect. You can see. We'll zoom right down in on this where that warning is in effect and kind of show you some of the streets. I mean, we can populate many of these streets here. I mean, this is a very kind of rural portion of Iroquois County, but right there we're 45 and 49 there, kind of coming together. And so that general area right through there is where some of that rotation is located, to give you an idea of where that is. And again, since it's moving so slow, I mean, it's just barely creeping here, it's going to take its time kind of moving out. So, you know, maybe eventually towards the Martinton area, but that could be a good 35, 45 minutes before that even gets over there to, say, Highway 1.
And one thing to note is that the Storm Prediction Center has actually kind of trimmed their marginal risk area, and it's, if you look at it on the map, it's essentially kind of along and east of I-57 right now. So that's our latest severe storm weather outlook for today, and it used to cover more of the viewing area, and now it's just the eastern sliver of it. So it makes sense kind of right along the line of storms that we have currently.
Yeah, you kind of just see it on the radar there. If I just draw this line here, I mean, nothing else back here really is looking as impressive. So the stuff that is definitely going to be running right here along the Indiana-Illinois state line as these storms kind of move to the east. And so basically we're just going to have to watch this line over the next kind of hour or two and see if it can continue to develop.
Yep. Now back on Max 2, I got our velocity up here, and it's really not much showing much more rotation anymore out of this thing. So it's probably not going to be extended after 3:15. I'm gonna probably, well, Kevin, you're a betting man. You can probably say that it probably won't go past probably won't go past 3:15.
Yeah, unless there's any kind of
re-strengthening,
an uptick in this, which at least in the last few scans we're not seeing that. I mean, there is still something very, very weak in there, but nothing like what we had earlier, which is the reason that the warning got issued. It was prompted because of the stronger rotation that we had earlier here. So here again is, I'll just put the loop on it, and you kind of see how it's kind of convoluted. You know, there's not, if we can switch over to Max 1, you'll see it's kind of convoluted there. It's kind of all kind of coming together, and these storms merging with one another, and kind of makes of a messy radar situation. But our storms that we have there definitely have been showing some rotation with them today, and we have had some reports, and I think we're going to have some reports here coming up on our newscast at 5 of some damage of them up around the Fisher area.
I think Maggie was in my ear just a minute ago, and she said that she's got that the video from that Jacob had. I don't know if it's ready to go. Oh, okay, work on it. Okay, yep. That's fine. That's fine. We'll definitely for sure use it though for the newscast though this evening, because it was a probable tornado touchdown that had no warning on it. But Kevin, like you've been saying earlier, these are just these little brief tornadoes. These are very weak tornadoes. They're there in one radar scan and they're gone in the next one, and so these are extremely hard to warn for. At least with this warning that we have for Iroquois County, at least that couplet, that rotational couplet, has been showing up here for multiple scans, and so it makes sense. But I mean, it's just hard to do with these conditions today to have to pinpoint it.
And what I want to do is I want to actually I can actually pull up a picture that I received earlier.
Okay.
That funnel that was near Fisher that we think that actually was
touchdown.
Yeah, had. I mean, that thing was as close to touching down as what you can get, and I want to share that with you guys. Oh, actually, also some damage photos. Let's see if I can't get this to pull up here. And what do we have up here? I'm gonna have you guys pull up here in just a second our Max 2, and I'm gonna show you the picture that we got earlier. Well, maybe not. Well, I will here in a second. I'll tell you that. Yep. And that's you know, the damage that we had earlier that Jacob has been on. He's gonna have some of that video for us here coming up later on tonight. Let's see. I thought I had where I could pull this up. Let me see here. Oh, there it is right there. Okay.
There you go.
So that was the funnel that we had earlier, And look at that thing. I mean, that thing's almost
It's almost
to the ground over there.
Yeah.
So again, we think that right there, and that's what potentially spawned that tornado that did cause some damage. And let me just kind of scroll here because these are some pictures from Jacob Dickey that was out there. I mean, you can obviously see that shed that was damaged there, and you can see he was actually telling us that there was even a 12-year-old that was in there.
A kid in there,
A kid that was in there, and I think he's got some more about that. Possibly, I think even talked to the kid, but you can see that. So that was right there, close to where that other picture came from, where we had that funnel.
Yeah.
So we think that all of that kind of lines up to where we think, yeah, there probably was. You know, these don't always touch down. You know, these, and then there's the argument: is this a cold air funnel? Is this not? I mean, these were associated with storms here,
right?
For sure. And so, you know, land spout, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's 100 different definitions of it. Regardless, people don't care what it's called. If it causes damage, it's damage, and that's an issue. So our storm here, that thing is continuing to look pretty ragged there as well. So probably before too long, we're going to be heading back. I think we've got some more.
Okay, here's the video of that Jacob had.
So you can see this is a shed that's up there. I believe they said kind of north of Fisher. You can see one of the farming trucks there. I mean, that's a lot of damage there. Clearly, you know, I mean, that typically isn't happening just on some gusty winds there. Now, of course, we know sheds, you know, not as well built as what, you know, homes are, but that's still some pretty decent damage with the storm that was up there. Maybe, I don't know, that might be the little boy that was in that shed. We were talking about a 12-year-old that was in there. Jacob said that he's lucky to be alive. We're going to have more about that coming up here on our newscast at 5 o'clock, so I encourage you to tune back in for that.
Yeah, Jacob, he interviewed the son and the father there, and so we'll have their story tonight at 5 and 6. So yeah, just kind of just an interesting weather day for sure, though. Those marginal risk days, they can throw some curveballs.
They can. Okay, so I think we're coming up here on this 3:15. Let's see if the Weather Service has anything more in terms of carrying on that, because they've expired the tornado warning. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and break away from our programming here as the tornado warning has expired. We're still going to watch the storm that's down into Edgar County. That's the one where there's still a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect down there. That storm even not looking as impressive as it once did. We might have we'll pull on the Lincoln radar. Okay, so it's still something there, but that storm into Edgar County, we're going to be watching that as well. So again, we encourage you guys to stay with us here. Coming up here in about an hour and 45 minutes, we'll be on the air at 5 o'clock with the latest. And if any other warnings get issued, of course, we'll let you know. We will continue our streaming on our platforms on social media, Facebook, on our WCIA3 weather and news app, streaming at WCIA.com as well. So if you want to continue with our coverage, we encourage you to go over there, and we'll have more.
Yep, that's right.
All right, we'll see you guys here coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, if not earlier. Thanks for joining us.
All right, everybody. You should be able to hear me now still. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Just changing it off from our production switcher back to our weather switcher here. That way we can do some more coverage. And so what I'm going to do here is switch things back over. And here we go with our, continuing on with our stream here. So Storm Tracker Doppler. Yep, we're good here. Storm Tracker Doppler. And we have our warning that still goes here for a little bit longer. Zooming in on the Edgar County area, we go until 3:45, so we've got about a half hour or so left of that warning. Not really much in the way of new developments out of this one. And I've not seen, let's see, we just got to get...
This is Jacob's, right?
That's Jacob's, yeah. Yeah, it's a hard time of the day to do these because we're kind of getting ready for our newscast things. But So we got our warning still that we have left over in Edgar County. Everything else now, as you'll notice with our storms, is kind of east now of 57. So east of 57 is where most of our activity is, and west of 57 is a lot more in the way of some spottiness. There are still some storms out there that are just interesting to note and look at, but in terms of our storms that have the potential for severe weather, it's pretty much this line right here. And so once this moves more off into Indiana and potentially even weakens a little bit more, as could be the case, then our severe threat, which was very small for the day, would then go away. So that's our warning. It still has that tornado possible tag with it, though, due to the fact that we have the rotation that can be seen at times with this. But on our rotation here, and we'll pull that up, our rotation here just does not look to be as impressive anymore. We still have our kind of those darker greens there signifying some gusty winds from this, but really more than anything else, you're not seeing that red with it anymore either. You've got just the greens showing up, which indicates typically that your winds are just going one direction in the same direction. So that's going to be one thing that we're going to see. If it will be, do we get any more rotation where we should see some of those reds begin to pop back up, or do we not do that? That's going to be kind of the main thing to look out for. A few more things here. I'm going to check around here. Okay. Max 1. Okay, I'm back over on Max 1 here, and just kind of want to put the overall loop into things here. And number 1, too, it's just a little bit easier to see this when it's full screen. To get all those, it's essentially our eastern column of counties. That's pretty much the last bit of storm activity that we have to worry about as we move off into Indiana. It's pretty much this last row of counties. So we've got a lot of storm activities along and south of I-70 currently, with some very heavy rains for these storms, and even probably more lightning than the storms that have the warnings on them. But down there near the Marshall and the Robinson area, that is where we have a lot of our heavy rain. This is a view here of the past 30 minutes, and that's the loop of the past 30 minutes. Back off to our west, especially west of I-57, we barely have anything out there. We've got a couple of cells across Macoupin County. We've got more little guys here across portions of northern Christian County, going into southern Macon County, kind of by the Booty area there too. So even our storms that are in Iroquois County, they look to have kind of dissipated a little bit more. Now by the Clifton area, you still have a ton of lightning with that storm as it enters the Shabans area. And then just off to the east of Watseka, you've got more storms. And then by the Milford area, the Wellington area, very close to the Indiana line, you've got some cells there. And even going into portions of Vermilion County, Danville is very close to that cell, Oakwood, Fairmount, Jamaica. But that's all kind of leading in from the storm that's got the warning on it down to our south and east. You've also got more in the way of some cells here across the western and northwestern portions of Vermilion County, kind of by the Potomac, Rankin area. Zooming in a little bit more, you've got the Ellis area, Riley area. So all those spots seeing these very heavy rains as they come on through. But our warning that we have right now, the only one that we have currently, is the one for Edgar County, and that one does go until 3:45, so about 25 minutes left of that warning, and it's still got the tornado possible tag with that one. If you zoom out, you'll see that there's really not much activity off to our west of I-57. So if you live along and west of I-57, your chances for severe weather, it's not there. In fact, our storm chances are significantly lower overall over there too. So things are definitely a lot drier to 57 to the west of it than there is to the east of it. And we have this trend probably going here for another about hour and a half or so before a lot of these storms are just crossing over the border. But these ones are moving more in the way of a kind of straight northeast direction. What's been kind of the interesting thing to note of, and I'll go actually a 6-hour loop, and hopefully that didn't crash the computer. But I want to show you that with a 6-hour loop, you'll be able to see a little bit more in the way of some of the turning that those storms have been exhibiting. So our low is kind of by St. Louis, okay? And these storms have been following along a boundary that's been getting pushed, almost kind of like a front that's being pushed off to the east. And so they've really formed along this thing. But the low itself is not really moving very much, so that's why these have crawled at such a slow pace. In the instance of that tornado warning, for example, we had the movement to the east-northeast at around 10 miles an hour. So because of the way that these storms are moving, we've had these kind of longer duration warnings and also a lot of heavy rain with them too. But these are kind of along a cold front type of boundary now in the eastern column of counties. Back off to the west, they're just not really there, and the environment also not very there either. In fact, our latest Severe Storm Prediction Center outlook for today has things basically along and east of I-57 right now for the rest of the day. So they've really trimmed it off to the west of I-57 because the conditions just aren't there. Here's our view from Springfield now, for example, and that one has some blue skies trying to show up. So we've really seen our conditions change here pretty quickly over the past about 2 hours or so. Let me try to get another camera shot here for us. Charleston, this is one that does not move. You've got the wet pavement there, but some blue skies trying to show up. This is our view from Danville. Danville does not move, and you've got a very good picture there where you got the rain shaft that's just off to the west there. This is approaching the city of Danville. So you've got the storm here just in the one corner, and you've got the darkening there. In fact, the contrast kind of washed out a little bit more with this, but you've got the heavy rains just approaching and just off to the west of Danville that will be keeping an eye out for. Don't see any lightning strikes as of right now, but there are definitely some with them on the radar. And this is a pretty good view of the storms that are coming in here. Other pictures probably aren't going to be as impressive to see. Let me try to see what our stadium one looks like. Yeah, and this will be, I think our Danville one's going to be the best bet to show right now, just based on the direction that it's facing. So it's a very interesting day today. We've had, all right, and that warning has now been allowed to expire too across Edgar County. Kind of taking a look back here, it really has faded away pretty fast. So that's some good news there. So with that being said, currently we don't have any more warnings in our area. At this point, we're probably going to shut things down. I'm going to have to get ready to go here to help Kevin make the forecast for the news. And we'll take one more shot here of, I'm going to switch my inputs. All right. So we've had a lot of pictures come into social media. Now that we don't have any warnings on them, I'll be able to get a better look at them, and we'll be able to share those and have some of the more interesting ones show up on our newscast as well. But as you can tell, we are currently warningless across the viewing area right now. So a little bit of an interesting afternoon for us. Thank you for tuning in. We'll have much more within the next hour and a half on our newscast at 5. Like I said, meteorologist Jacob Dickey, he went up to the Foosland-Fisher area, kind of north of Fisher, and he talked with a family there where there was likely a very weak tornado that touched down from a storm that did not have a warning on it, and it created some damage at the shed that they were working in, and a 12-year-old boy was in there working, and it was a pretty close call. So he's got their story, and we'll have much more in the way, like I said, of pictures here during our newscast as well. As always, thank you for tuning in with us here. We will provide you with much more information as need be throughout the afternoon. Hopefully things quiet out, though. It really should trend that way. But if anything else pops up, we'll let you know. One more check here. Oh, that's it. So we'll leave you to it, and we will see you at 5 o'clock.